What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Today I have just a little talk, a little chit chat. I made a trade at my local show on Saturday, the Rated Rip show. They do it about every 5 or 6 months or so. And I just thought it would be a good opportunity to revisit something that we've talked about before and just kind of an example of the way that I like to just kind of move in and out of stuff and taking profits on certain things and the whole philosophy of around they let you buy them back. So, in the fall of last year at the first Shipshawana show, I purchased traded for at the time a Juan Soto Bowman's Best auto, on card rookie auto 2018. PSA 1010, so 10 card, 10 auto grade, which you don't see a lot of in that card. I got into that card for, I want to say around 11 or 1200 bucks. I think it was like around 11 or 1200 dollars. Held that card throughout the off season, and then at the recent Atlanta show, there was right before the Atlanta show, there were some very strong comps for that card. The Soto market had been hot all off season. It had spiked all the way up to $2,500. So at the Atlanta show, I walked it around and closed a deal with a dealer for $2K cash, which seemed pretty fair. $2,500 eBay comp, $2K cash when you factor out the 15% in eBay seller fees, plus the fact that it's cash in hand at the show, seemed 100% completely fair. It left him room to probably sell it to list it at 25 and take, 2,500 bucks on it. Okay. So I made about $800 or $900 cash on that card. I traded into it for 1,100, got 2K back out of it. So I got my initial 1,100 bucks back, or we'll call it 1,200 plus 800 in cash on top. So I made 800 cash on that card, plus my initial investment back. Funnily enough, this is a side tangent. At Shipshawana this past spring, about a month or so ago, I actually saw the exact same card I sold in Atlanta. Same serial number and everything, with a different dealer. So clearly that dealer had moved it off to somebody else, and they also had it priced at 2,500 bucks. So long story short, I had moved out of that card. At another recent local show, the Youngstown show, I picked up a Bryce Harper first Bowman Chrome True Gem for $850. I thought it was a great deal. They had been comping around 11 to 1,200 bucks, and the guy just had it in the case for a straight $850, so I snagged it. Also at the last Shipshawana show, I had a 92 McFarland Prism PSA 10. I valued it at, I believe, 500 bucks. I was into it for essentially grading fees. So I had a very low cost basis on that card. I traded it for 400 cash and got back a Jazz Chisholm RPA, the Topps Triple Threads, 4-color RPA patch, which was valued at $100, but I was basically into it for nothing, and I got cash on top of that deal. In the meantime, I'd also been on this Topps Dynasty kick, and I purchased the Acuna for 500 bucks, the on card with the sweet looking 3-color patch on that as well. And where I'm going with this random stuff is these are the things that I then moved for, because once again, they let you buy them back. I picked this up Saturday at my local show. Now, this is not a 1010. It's just a PSA 10, no 10 auto grade. But, I don't know how much the 10 auto grade really juices this card, maybe 100 bucks or so. Picked this up. Recent comps were $2,100. That was the last sale on one of these at $2,100 at a best offer, buy it now. And there had been some other sales around 2K. Funnily enough, there was an auction ending for one of these later that day. It was currently at the time I made the deal, $1,100 and running. Now, that one ended up closing at 1,800 bucks, so a little bit less than the last $2,100 comp. I traded for this at 2K trade value. That's what we had come up with, established value. We both thought the $2,100 comp was fair, but we were both cognizant of the fact that the auction ending today was we both had the vibe that it was going to fall a little short of that. So what did I give up for this? Let me pull it up over here for you all to see. You can see here on the photo, we have the Bryce Harper that I got into, the Jazz that I got into at Shipshawana, and the Acuna. It's non-RPA, but just the patch auto from Topps Dynasty. So I gave up about 2K value, and I got $50 in cash back in this deal as well. So we valued the Harper at $12.50. We valued the Jazz at $200, and then this at $600, and then I got $50 back in cash. And then we valued the Soto at $2K. So $200 on the Jazz, $600 on this, and $12.50 on this, and then I got $50 back. So that's how we got to the 2K value, and then I got this back in trade. So this is what I gave up. It looks like a lot. But here's my cost basis on this stuff, like we talked about before, and this is where this stuff matters. Even though this came back in later in the day at an $1,800 comp, I still feel great about this deal. The Harper I was into for $850. The Jazz I was into for free, essentially. And there was no recent comps on this. The last comp was the guy that sold it or traded it to me back in early March, was $100. Jazz has started off pretty strong, so I think that'll be a pretty popular card. And then this I had just bought on eBay for $500. So I bought it for $500, got $600 in value on it. So essentially, I was into these three cards for about probably $1,350 total. $850 on this, $500 on this, maybe $14 if you give it a little wiggle room on there with some extra fees and stuff. But the Jazz kind of throws that all out of whack. But regardless, about $1,350 to $1,400 is what I was into the three cards I gave up for a card valued at the time $2K, now $1,800, but I still feel pretty good about that. Juan Soto, rookie on-card auto, not exactly the easiest thing to find. So essentially the $2K that I made selling the first version of this card in Atlanta, I took that money, bought the Harper, bought the Acuna for $1,350, had a Jazz thrown in essentially as a freebie because I was free rolling that card, and then bought back the Soto for these three, which I was into for $1,350. So I got this card initially for $1,100, sold it for $2K, took the $2K, bought some other stuff, took that stuff, and traded back into it. And I am still up because I only put $1,350 cash into what I gave up for this card. Now I have the card back, and I still have, $650 cash in my hand. So I hope that kind of all makes sense to you. I know it could get a little bit confusing on kind of how you work the numbers and stuff like that. A lot of it's kind of, I don't want to say magical pixie dust of just, how you kind of work things, but this is the way that I think about things as I move in and out of cards. Got into the card for $1,100, sold it for $2K, took that $2K, bought other things that I believed were undervalued, took those things, traded back into a card, and I still feel at around $1,800, this card is still very safe and very good. And even if this comes down a little bit, my cost basis on this card is only $1,350. So I still have wiggle room there where I'm still in the green on it. And I try not to worry about cost basis too much. But Soto, rookie on-card auto, those are extremely rare. I will take that all day long. And like I said, this card had gotten up to $2,500. There was multiple 2K plus sales. So I think this card could easily get back to that number. And then, I'm into it for $1,350, traded into it for 2K value. I still think it has room to go up from there. He's already having a pretty strong start to the season. These are the types of things that I like to do. This is how I work the edges. So a lot of people ask, how can you still make profits in a down market, stuff like that? I really like leveraging trades. Trades plus cash plus trade, however you want to do it. I've done it both ways. Like on the Jazz here, that was a case where I gave up the PSA 10 Prism Spider-Man, got the Jazz back, and $400 cash. So at that time, I was into the Prism for maybe $50. I got 400 cash. That's awesome. That's fantastic. And I got the Jazz thrown in. I viewed the Jazz as basic from my perspective. I would have almost been happy with the 400 cash for the Spider-Man card, and then I get the $100 Jazz thrown in. And then I get to now take that and leverage it in another deal in the future. We were really close on a couple different versions of this trade. There's some different ways I could have done it. But this is what it took to get it done. And don't forget, I got $50 back in cash as well. It doesn't seem like a lot, but those little things like that can add up over time. So once again, just kind of wanted to throw this out there. I know we talk about on the channel all the time, or I talk about all the time on the channel, the philosophy of they let you buy them back. So when you get a good price, a good strong price on a card that you own, don't be afraid to let it go. There will be an opportunity later in life for you to get it back. You might not always get it back cheaper. Sometimes you will. In this case, I kind of got it back cheaper. I traded into it for the value that I sold it for, but the money that I had into what I traded away for it was less than what I sold it for. So I make up that profit there, if that makes sense. In some cases, maybe you end up buying the card back at a higher price because you really want the card, and it is what it is. The theory behind this always is say that this card went to 3K and I ended up getting it back. It's still a matter of I sold it for 2. What did I do with the 2K? Did I turn that 2K into 3K, 4K, 5K? Or would I have been better off just sitting on the card in question? 9 times out of 10, I feel like when a card goes up, spikes up to a decent amount in value, you're almost always better off, especially for most of this modern stuff, to just take the profit on that, take that money, and then roll it into the next thing versus risking holding the card and seeing what happens as time spins forward. So, now I've done this deal. I had the 2K cash out of it, spent $13.50 on those cards. I have the card back. And, I still technically have $6.50 left in cash to go do something else with, if you look at this all as one big transaction. Once again, I always find it very interesting to track the life of a card, if you will. Like, the first Soto started with a LeBron Chalk Toss Chrome 10 and a Donovan Mitchell base Prism, was what I traded for the original Bowman's Best Soto that I had that was in the 10-10 grade. And then if you go that back even further on that, what it took to acquire those cards. It's just always interesting to kind of follow along with what you started with and then what it keeps spinning itself into. So that's all I have for you guys and girls today. I hope this was helpful. I hope this wasn't too confusing. I know it can be kind of hard to kind of speak it into existence, but like I said, I always talk about they let you buy them back philosophy, and this just seemed like an absolutely perfect example of it, even though in this case I traded for it, didn't buy it. So once again, that's all I got for you guys and girls today. Like, comment, subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Peace.